House Street Divination Club. Klein pressed down on his half-top pen and walked along the stairway towards the main door. He wasn't dressed in his usual formal wear. Today he was wearing a white shirt, a light-colored vest, paired with a thin black trench coat, making him look more spirited than he
Happy
had
reading.
before.
Also shout out to username.
Another 5 stones! Thank you! 5 spirit stones! Thank you so fucking much! Wow. I'm gonna buy so much Pepsi with that money, by the way. There's a meme in my community. I don't know why it happened, by the way. I'm just gonna show you quickly before we keep reading. It's this one. Sure thing, buddy. Me drinking Pepsi, but there's like a better illustration up here. Yeah. I don't know what is this about. Someone made that. The Pepsi Fund, yep. Also, looks like Klein is stripped out. Making him look more spirited than he had before. Thank you so much, by the way, for the $5. I really appreciate it. This set of clothing was more suitable for combat and had only cost him £1, including the fee for the small pocket that he had sewn into the vest. Compared to the other suit he purchased, it was so cheap that it brought tears to his eyes. Also, I'm guessing he sewed the pocket for his gun, right? Also, he can get reimburnished for that. Without any surprise, he met the beautiful attendant Angelica. Good afternoon, Mr. Moretti. I thought you would come only a few days later. Angelica was taken aback at first, before she immediately revealed a brilliant smile. Klein took off his hat and sighed. Good afternoon, Miss Angelica. Miss Angelica had a dream at noon, dreamt about Mr. Hanas and matters regarding him. You know that as a fortune teller, I absolutely cannot overlook any dream. It could be a revelation from the divine. Confused by his charlatan-like words, Angelica nodded in thought and asked out of curiosity, "What did you dream of?" Hello, Hopeland. Hello, Shera. Hello, Luvian. Is unknown leaving? Oh no. Oh, okay, thank you for the donations. Just, what a giga chat, by the way. Gave me $10 and left. Wow. Anyway. I saw Hanas Vincent arguing with someone. Klein passed her a folded piece of paper in his hand. As Angelica unfolded the portrait, he pinched his glabella and observed the color of her emotions. This person. Angelica looked at her realistic portrait and slipped into deep thought. Klein saw her emotions turn into thinking blue as a normal reaction. This person, Angelica muttered once again. She slowly looked up and said, "I've met him before. I'm wondering if this is serious." As in the character. Of course, it's a serious situation as well. Klein's mind whirled as he immediately asked, "When was it?" "I can't remember the exact date. Maybe a month ago? I saw him send Mr. Vincent to the door and they were softly discussing something. I have a deep impression of him because of his thick and messy eyebrows, as well as Mr. Vincent's rare smile," Angelica described as she replied. "Yes, she had a pair of grayish blue eyes and, like most men his age, a little hair on his head." A little hair, okay, hairline mentioned again. "Did you meet him again or after that?" asked Klein gently. Before or after that, asked Klein gently. Angelica shook her head. "No, I am certain of that. I don't even know his name. To be honest, if it wasn't you, I would have suspected that any person showing me a portrait like this is a policeman investigating Mr. Vincent's death. Hey, I don't find it odd no matter what revelation you receive. For you are a true seer." "My apologies, I am a policeman." "Ooh, wait. Did he not see this in the donghua? Interesting." Klein retorted silently as he sighed and said, "A true seer will understand how minuscule it truly is compared to the vastness of fate. We can only see a hazy corner, forever receiving revelations, but never answers. We must reflect upon them constantly and keep up our respect and fear. We must decipher these hints with caution and not see ourselves as the intelligent ones who have been in control of fate." Damn. Klein the psychologist. Philosopher, sorry. Klein the philosopher. Wow. I will keep reading Peliroja. By summarizing what he had figured out over the past few weeks, Klein suddenly realized that his spirit vision turned clearer. He could even faintly make out the details with Angelica's aura. At that instant, he felt like a short-sighted man who was wearing glasses that suited him. This, as my seer potion began to produce clear signs of digestion, Klein stunned in disbelief. Interesting. I never imagined a seer like you can still maintain such a fear and respect towards fate. It's truly admirable, said Angelica earnestly. Also, my apologies, I'm a policeman, Klein retorted silently. My autistic ass for a second thought he said it to Angelica out loud, by the way, I'm just saying. She had seen too many people in divination club who had claimed to see through the truth and change fate after learning a few divination methods. Klein retracted his gaze and chuckled. The more you know, the better you can understand how small we truly are. Damn. Klein is making me think deeply about all of this. As he was saying this, he checked his body condition and reflected on his past experiences. He could basically narrow the essence of the acting technique to actions corresponding to the name of the potion, understanding the hidden laws covering the role, as well as strictly abiding by these laws. Only by doing so could he change the state of his body, heart and soul, making them closer to the remnant psyche in the potion, so as to gradually digest it. The acknowledgement of Seer's identity was only a factor on the surface. The reason why it made one's spirituality feel light had to do with how the feedback strengthened one's affirmation of particular divination actions, and these actions collectively formed the rules of digesting the Seer potion. To help others interpret revelations and guide them in a better direction, yet constantly maintain one's fear and respect towards fate, one cannot be too egoistical, too proud, or blindly believe one's interpretations. These are the laws I can think of for the time being, as well as the essence of acting technique that will guide me toward the future. If it continues to be this successful, I won't need half a year. Perhaps in 2 or 3 months, or even 2 or 3 weeks' time, I'll be ready to completely digest the potion. Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, Klein built different. Heavenly Joy is here. Oh my god. I missed you, man. Heavenly Joy, I missed you, man. You're my favorite rage better. That sign was extremely obvious. It's no wonder the mysterious Mr. Saratul said the Beyonder will clearly sense it when the potion is fully digested. But by the way, this is kind of contradicting what Tan was saying. Like, you have to wait 3 years and then you have to be sure that your potion is digested. So I wonder, the more acting you do, the easier it is to realize that you are finished digestion. There's no need for anyone to teach them. It is what it is. Just like now, although my spirit vision has been enhanced a little, I know very well that this is only a pit stop in the digestion process and not the final destination. Don't know about digesting, I know. But he is sequence 7, so he has digested. Oh, it's not even about digesting. Yeah, okay, gotcha. True. With this in mind, Klein couldn't help but thank the Sude clown for teaching him with his life. Correct chapter number? Thank you, man. That's actually very useful, thank you. Here it is. Seer drew numbers. It wasn't for him. With this in mind, Klein couldn't help but thank the Sude clown for teaching him with his life. If it wasn't for him, he would probably spend months at divination club, summarizing the rules of a seer through numerous attempts, for better or worse, before he began acting strictly. Mr. Moretti, I sometimes even think of you as a philosopher. That's what I said, Angelica said with a sigh upon hearing Klein's reply. In my circle of friends, the term philosopher is used to scold somebody. Klein was in a good mood. With that said, he bowed for his hat and left after bidding farewell. Although Angelica was unaware of the gentleman's name or identity, Klein was in no way depressed. What he learned was sufficient enough for him to engage in the next phase of the plan. Okay, there we go. Slammer has no idea. 36 Suitland Street. inside Blackthorn Security Company. There you go. So when Dunn and other people don't know about digesting and acting, when that feeling hits them, they're like, "Oh, this is a weird feeling," you know. Dunn looked at the portrait when the potion is like digesting or finished digesting. Dunn looked at the portrait in his hands with. Okay. Dunn looked at the portrait in his hands with the deep grey eyes. You wish to carry out a search for this person? Yes, Klein had long prepared a reason for this. Okay, Klein lying again. Captain, didn't I mention that I will head to the Venetian Club to observe the reactions of its members to Hannah's Vincent's sudden death? I didn't discover anything yesterday, but I accidentally found out today that the person in this portrait had a beard with Hannah's Vincent once and was secretly discussing something with him. I flipped through our team's investigation report just now, but I didn't discover any person resembling him in the report. So he's basically saying like half-truths, but he's not revealing how he got that picture and where he saw it from. There were no loopholes in his description. Even if Don Smith were to take his portrait to the Venetian Club, he would get the same answer from Angelica. Don cast his gaze away from the portrait and laughed. From the looks of it, the compensation funds weren't of waste. Captain, isn't your memory bad? Why would you mention the compensation at this point in time? Klein maintained a smile and didn't say a word. Was this drawn by you? Don asked in passing. Yes, I drew it with the help of ritualistic magic, Klein replied, completely honest. Yeah, true, completely honest. Of course, speaking the truth and revealing the whole truth were two different matters. Exactly. Don nodded slightly and said, get old Neil to make a few more sets. I'll get Kenley and Royale to investigate and seek the cooperation of the police department. If this clue is of any use, you will contribute it greatly once again. May goddess bless us, Klein tapped 4 spots on his chest as he appeared abnormally devout. Abnormally devout. For him, all he needed from Dunn and company was to figure out the name and identity of the man in portrait. He could divine his location above the grey fog. Despite it being his day off, Klein didn't immediately return home after leaving the Blackthorn Security Company. Instead, he took the public carriage to the harbor and arrived in front of the Evil Dragon's bar's entrance. In his considerations, although Asir lacked the means to directly engage in combat with an enemy or the means to cast spells quickly, combat could be classified in many ways. Not all battles were chance encounters, as long as he had sufficient time to prepare. Yeah, battle IQ. Asir could similarly deal with enemy using ritualistic magic. It was exactly how he resolved the magic mirror divination incident at Selena's house. And this also meant that it was best if Asir brought along the essential oils, herbs, and tiny candles to avoid being in a situation where they were unavailable when they were needed most, thus resulting in helpless death. After all, not everyone was like Selena, who had an entire assortment of mysticism items which could be used. Yeah, thank God for that, guys. We would have been cooked without them. Bro said battle IQ. Yeah, what's wrong with battle IQ? Klein is a smart guy, you know. He's trapping all of them all the time. He is outsmarting them. Is Ankh not here? Ankh's internet is really bad. As for the ones applied for, as Klein had practiced frequently, he has used up most of them. He kept what was left in his tiny inner pocket. Okay. He had a cash note in his pocket and pushed open Evil Dragon's bar door and strode in. It was noon. Oh, is Havre there? It was noon and there weren't many customers in the bar, nor were there any rat battle, baiting or boxing matches. It was quiet and not lively enough. Klein observed the guests drinking beer and playing cards as he walked toward the billiard room that led to the underground market. At that moment, he saw a muscular old man walked out with a torn admiral jacket wrapped over his shoulders. Ooh, who is this? Were you the friend that old Neil brought last time? Reeking with the smell of alcohol, and the blue-eyed, messy, brown-haired elder sized up Klein and laughed. Klein guessed at this identity and took off his hat and bowed. Yes, how might I address you? Old Neil often mentions you. I'm the boss around here, Swain. So Swain, apparently, I remember when you guys were talking about it, Swain is basically Havre, right? They made Swain's character into Havre in the donghua. It's so corny. Okay, I gotcha. Yes, how may I address you? Oh yeah. The blue-haired elder arms were thick and brawny. He had firm muscles and had the bearing of a military officer. Warmer Tingen mandated Punisher captain. Rumor has it that he was once part of the Imperial Navy. Klein replied politely, yes. If you need money, feel free to approach me. Oh yeah, Swain laughed as he mentioned before walking towards the bar counter. Didn't old Neil say that this guy's insane, insane interest rates? At that moment, Klein's heart stirred as he immediately shouted, wait a moment! Mr. Swain, I have something I would like to ask you. Swain halted in his steps, turned halfway around and said with a chuckle, you look well, very similar. Oh, with old Unk. With old Neil. No, I'm not having memory issues. The corner of Klein's lips twitched as he pointed at the portrait of he drew and asked, have you met this gentleman before? Suddenly I realized that Selena had likely been brought by Hannes Vincent to the underground market. This resulted in Elizabeth's knowledge of the evil dragon bar as well. Then called the man in portrait who had some relationship with Hannes Vincent have come here before. Smart Klein. Swain took a careful look and replied affirmatively. I remember him. He had asked me if I had documents or items related to the main peak of Hornatz's mountain range. Interesting, okay. Saratul? Is Saratul alive? The murmurings that he keeps hearing about Hornatzis and Verglea, I think, are from a higher sequence here, and the only person we know again is Saratul. Documents and items related to the main peak of Hornatzis mountain range. Klein was taken aback as he suddenly connected that to another matter. I thought it was maybe the portrait was of Sirius. Back when he was borrowing the journal issue related to the main peak of the Hornatzis mountain range at Deweyville's library, the librarian had casually mentioned that someone had just returned it. I think it's serious. Therefore, he still remembered very clearly and didn't need to flip through the name cards to determine the man existed. Oh! Okay, clue! Could the gentleman who borrowed the journal issue before me the one in the portrait? The gentleman that had witnessed the exchange of the Antigonus family notebook. Serious! I think. Let's go! I'm so excited. We're gonna go back to the library now. Cloth merchant. Okay. This guy is merching cloth. Also, we're triple-digit chapters, by the way. Wow. Adorable Alice. Yeah, Nightwalker is our fanboy, I think. The more Klein thought about it, the more likely it seemed otherwise who would have borrowed those random journal issues for no reason. Yes, research regarding the main peak of Hornatzis mountain range is quite an unpopular field. Other than the corresponding lecturers and associate professors, the common hobbyist would have never heard of it. Even the original Klein, who was history graduate, only knew about it from the Antigonus family notebook. Although Tingen is a city of universities, there won't be that many people who would be interested in the topic. And even if there is anyone interested, most of them will remain within the university's compounds. There will no need to borrow the book from Deweyville's library. Okay, Deweyville mentioned, by the way. Is Andrew's Antigonus impersonation correct? It's Antigonus. It's Antigonus. Right? I think it's Antigonus. But I'm saying it Antigonus. Deweyville the goat? Nah, he's a fraud. The most important point is that the book happened to be borrowed only recently. By analyzing it this way, there really is a problem. I wasn't sharp enough and failed to realize it. It looks like I have no talent at being a detective or acting like Sherlock Holmes. Oh my god, funny you mentioned that. While these thoughts raced through his mind, the boss of Evil Dragon Bar, Swain, asked in puzzlement, is there a problem? Since there were customers and bartenders around, you can only ask indirectly. Nothing at all, I'm just wondering how I can investigate this gentleman. As you know, Hannes Vincent died at his home. Klein had long prepared his excuse. Foreshadowing, I know, right? He didn't want to make the mandated Punisher become interested in the ancient relics from the main peak of Hornatzis mountain range. Vincent was one of the rather famous fortune tellers in Tingen City. He often came here. Swain had indeed given a perfunctory answer, but as he recalled, he said, now, that I think about it, the gentleman in the portrait did come together with Vincent at the very beginning. This is exactly what I wanted to know. Do you remember his name? Klein pressed immediately. Swain shook his head and chuckled. I won't ask for customers' names or identities unless I knew them to begin with, like Unc Neil. Alright, Klein deliberately revealed a saddened look. Oh, Klein with the puppy eyes. Oh my god. To him, it didn't matter if Swain knew because he could check the Deweyville library. To borrow books from a private funded library, he had to leave personal information, and his investigation must have had sufficient credibility. Yeah, and Klein be like, Ava County Police, we need to know who borrowed this book. After all, Klein had relied on an introduction letter from a senior associate professor before he obtained a library card. Even if the gentleman had forged his information, it is very likely that he left some clues which can be helpful to my divination. Klein watched Swain as he returned to the bar counter before entering the billiard room in deep thought. So, you can, like, even if it's a fake, then you can be like, the pendulum, like, is this name correct? Or something like that, right? And then it's gonna be no, that means it's a fake personality. Or, actually, if you ask, is this name correct? It's kinda vague question, right? Anyway, he wasn't in a hurry to head to the Dewey Library for his investigations. He planned on completing his purchase first. After all, it was unknown if he would encounter danger and be required to use ritualistic magic for subsequent developments. After passing through a few rooms, Klein arrived at the underground market. There were a few stalls and customers, a clear indication that it wasn't peak hour yet. So, like, the underground market in the novel is actually really small. Just as he took a step forward, he suddenly saw the monster, Admisol. This is the guy who has high spiritual perception, even though he's a human. He's not a cultivist, no, beyonder. Who could smell the scent of death standing in a corner. The young man was pale and his eyes gave a hint of terror and madness. He had also noticed Klein as he looked over. He was not a young man in donghua though, he looked old. As they made eye contact, Admiso suddenly extended his hands to cover his face. He moved toward the corner of the wall in a panic state. Soon he moved to a side door beside him and staggered as he ran out. What? Jesus, Gitzo. I mean, I feel bad for him. Is that necessary? It's just nearly blinded you the last time, but didn't do anything seriously. Is it him the devil? Klein's facial expression was somewhat stiff. Justice for Admisol. I know, right? When I read his description, I think of like a 16-year-old, like younger gentleman. He shook his head and smiled. He stopped thinking about the monster and came to a stall. He started shopping with a goal in his mind. After about I wonder what number you're gonna get up to, XS fan. What's up, Chin? After about a half an hour, Klein spent a few pounds, which was most of the secret stash of money. He counted for the 3 pounds and 17 soldi he had left, and he felt his heart ache. However, he dodged a small metal bottle in the inner pocket of his black trench coat. This is the Amantha extract which Madame Tali used previously. This powder mixed with Drago tree bark and leaves. Essential oil which is extracted from slumber flowers. Dried chamomile petals. Holy night powder which is previously produced myself. Klein recalled the items stored in every tiny pocket of his and repeated them. He did it to prevent himself from failing to find the ingredient that he will need at a crucial moment. Relying on his unique traits in mysticism, he quickly finished memorizing them and walked toward the door. Suddenly, he saw a somewhat familiar figure in the corner of his eyes. Admisol again? The young lady in a casual green dress. Oh, Elizabeth. Or, sorry, Selena. Her smooth black hair was soft and glistening. She had a round face with long eyes. They gave her a sweet look and remained bearing. No, never mind. It's a girl who was shivering strangely in the public carriage. Oh, Triss! Triss! It's a girl who was shivering strangely in the public carriage. She does seem fine. I never expected her to be a mysticism enthusiast. Klein slowed down and thought for a few seconds before finally recalling who she was. He had to admit that other than Justice, who he had never seen clearly, the young lady was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen since he transmigrated into this world. Oh my god. Yeah, I have a little bit of a lisp, I guess. Anyway, the Sweden refined girl stood before a stall, sold mysticism books, and in a breach of etiquette, kneeled to rub her fingers against an ancient book. Oh my god! The ancient book was bound with a black hardcover. The book cover had the words "Book of Witches" in Hermes. Oh my god! Trissy, in the records of black magic of witches. Although I haven't dared to try them, someone I know did and really worked. The vendor seized the opportunity to promote the book. The beautiful lady thought and asked, "In your mind, what does a witch look like?" "A witch? A wicked person who brings calamities, disease, and pain," the vendor answered after some thought. I would? What the fuck? Everyone would, no? It's yeah. I mean, Klein hasn't seen her yet. Justice. I didn't hear the conversation because it's a skill issue, masters. Klein didn't hear the conversation because he had already quickly walked out the front entrance. He was rushing to the library in a hurry to settle everything before turning home to cook dinner for his brother and sister. Tomato oxtail soup was on the menu. Damn delicious. That's it. No. That was so short-lived. Wow. Yeah. Backland Crown Turf Club. Oh, Backland! I'm so excited for Audrey because all of that stuff is still unknown to me. Because we didn't see much in the donghua. Oh, I will get skill issues in the second volume, I think. Okay, Backland, Crown Turf Club. Let's see what Justice is doing. Audrey Hall wore a long white dress with oh my god, this word again, by the way. It's a Frenchy word for some kind of like skirt thing. I have to always show it because I don't know how the fuck to pronounce that word. It's this thing on the skirt. It's this thing here. Listen.
Engageante.
Engageante. Dressed with engageants and ruffled edges, as well as lace around her chest. She stood in a VIP room and watched the horse gallop. She wore a wheeled hat decorated with blue ribbons and silk flowers. Ooh, and a light-colored fishnet gloves. Ooh, her cold and distant gaze seemed out of place in bustling venue. Yeah, she's in the spectator mode, I think. The amount of French words for the story is crazy. Really. That's just racehorse. That's just the racehorse breasted the tape. What? Just as the racehorse breasted the tape. What does that mean? Her friend Viscount Claint came closer and said with a suppressed voice, "Is Viscount Claint a female name?" Echo. What? Is there an echo? What? Is username Schizo? Everyone else have a... Oh. I'm confused. Oh, username made a fucking joke. I can see it now. What a loser, man. I'm joking. Male? Okay. Thank you. I'm joking calling you a loser. I'm joking. I actually feel bad. I'm sorry, username. I think username made a joke, that's why. And then I misunderstood. He isn't joking. Just as racehorse breasted the tape, her friend Viscount Claint came closer and said with a suppressed voice, "Audrey, every time I see you, you look beautiful from a different angle." Wow, Reese. How can I help you? In the past, Audrey might have basked in a young man's compliment, but now she could see Claint's ulterior motives through his speech and attitude. Damn, Audrey being a spectator. To the early passing of Claint's father, He had inherited this title nobility. Oh, she's very rich. He's very rich. At the age of 20, he was a slightly skinny young man. He was a slightly skinny young man. He looked to the left and right and chuckled softly as he said, Audrey, I know a real Beyonder. A Beyonder that doesn't belong to the royal family. Really? What? Disappointed me every time you said that. Audrey looked forward and replied elegantly, really? I swear on my father's name. I have seen his Beyonder powers. Glenn replied with a whisper. Audrey was no longer the same as before, in which should be excited over the news. She was now a Beyonder, but to prevent Clint from turning suspicious, she widened her eyes and faked a surprised smile. What? She asked with the voice trembling. Oh, when can I see him? Oh my god, this is Oscar level acting, by the way. When can I see him? Yes, it'd be great to meet other Beyonders. I can't just solve every triviality through the Tarot Club. Besides, I must gather my own resources to exchange them with Mr. Fool and Mr. Hanged Man. Not everything can be solved with monies. Ugh, now that I sent out £1,000, I have to be more frugal. Wow. Glenn was very satisfied with Audrey's response. He looked over the race course and said, tomorrow afternoon, there will be a literature and music salon at my place. Wow, that guy's cringe. I made him cringe though. Damn, Viscount? That's a title? Damn, he inherited from his dad. Yeah, his dad died early. Inside the Evil's library, Klein took out his identity card and badge from his pocket and showed them to the few librarians. Yeah, I told you Klein is gonna be like, I'm with the police. I am a probationary inspector on the Special Operations Department of the Awa County Police. I need your cooperation in an investigation, he said in a deep voice, recalling the police films that he used to watch. The librarians looked at the identity card and badge before exchanging looks and nodding to each other. Go ahead and ask, officer. Glenn recited the names of the journals like New Archaeology, and upon finishing he said, I want the borrowing records of the journal of the last 2 months. He realized that one of the librarians had attended to him before, but it was obvious that the man didn't recognize him. Alright, hold on a second. The librarian stated searching the quickly found the recent borrowing records. Klein flipped through the records seriously, looking for the man who had borrowed the same journal as he did. There weren't many names since there was only one. He had borrowed the journal several times, including the issue that Klein knew of. The earliest entry was at the end of May. The most recent one was last Saturday, the day before Hannah's Vincent death. Klein ran his finger after the borrower's information and memorized it. Serious Arapis, cloth merchant residing at House 19th Street. Let's go. What's he cooking? He just found his name. Sirius. Damn, Sirius was so like mysterious in the donghua as well. Anyway, what are you guys talking about? I pronounced it as Viscount. I realized it's called Viscount. What? That's crazy. That doesn't sound right. Viscount. Serious. Ugh. Yep. Serious of fraud. Serious is gonna lose control, guys. My prediction. We know what's gonna happen. Keep Viscount. I like Viscount more. Is it an unpopular opinion? Doing as the heart willed. I wanna go do back to Backland, man. I wanna see more of the Viscount. He resides at 19 House Street. Yeah. While he's memorizing information, Klein nearly noticed a piece of information. Yes, Welch stayed on House Street. The Information Club is on House Street. The cloth merchant named Sirius Arapis also lives on House Street. Coincidence? From the looks of it, it's nothing strange for the Welch to know Hannah's Vincent either. They might have even gotten to know which true Sirius Arapis. Suddenly Klein felt that he had linked the clues together as his thoughts turned clear. He was originally confused as to how Welch would be acquainted with Hannah's Vincent, since the son of banker wasn't particularly interested in mysticism. To him, money was more important than the Venetians. Classic banker, by the way. But now Klein felt that he had an inkling as to how they become acquainted. According to the descriptions of several magazines, middle class and wealthy residents will gladly pay a visit to their neighbors from the same social class in order to form a social circle which is beneficial to them. Similarly, Welch and the cloth merchant, Sirius, absolutely have the motivation and opportunity to become friends since they both lived in House Street vicinity. By the way, has Aurora something to do with space, by the way? Aurora Order. Aurora are the lights, right? Aurora are the lights. So this is Aurora, right? I just want to say that Sirius is a Sirius star in the sky. Both are to do with space. Probably coincidence though. Welch and the cloth merchant, Sirius, yeah. It isn't hard to understand how Sirius knew Hannes Vincent, who regularly went to the Venetian Club on House Street. Perhaps it was a coincidental meeting, or perhaps Hannes. Sirius is a moon or planet. No, Sirius is a star. Sirius is the brightest star we know. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky. Hannes had helped him out before a godless made it possible for two of them who frequently ran into each other within the same area to become closer to one another. Hannes Vincent wanted to sell his ancient books, and thus Sirius introduced him to Welsh, who was an undergraduate of the history department. In Hannes' dream, there was a figure of the suspected evil god, the true creator. He also knew of the proper incantation format. This proves that he was very deep into the realm of mysticism. The possibility that he might have even been a member of some secret organization. I cannot rule out the possibility of him joining some secret organization under Sirius's influence. With ideas coming to him so easily, Klein could tell the information that the man had left behind had a certain level of credibility without even using divination methods. Even if he isn't called Sirius or Apis, nor work as cloth merchant, doesn't live at 19 House Street, he definitely resides at House Street, or at very least somewhere nearby. Damn. While these ideas ran through his mind, Klein viewed the borrowing records once again with this new train of thought. Also, Selena is a word for like a moon, and it was connected to Hannes. I think it's all like a coincidence that, you know, these things are about space. I can't believe they named the star after all the Mysteries character. That's funny. The last time he came to the library was last Saturday, a day before Selena's birthday party, which was also a day before Hannes Vincent died. What does Hannes mean? Wait, I'm curious actually. I'm so fucking curious. Wait, Hannes meaning. It's saying it's a mispronunciation. Harness. What does Hannes mean? Let's try Vincent meaning. Vincent is a male name of Latin origin, meaning conquering or victorious. Lol. You're dead, Vincent. Careful? Yeah. Don't put load of mysteries at the end there. Are the best records if you only borrow 2 issues, you will usually return them the next day. Wait, sorry. Which was also the day before Hannes died. Several days have already passed since then, but he hasn't returned the issue that he borrowed. Or in the past records, if only borrowed 2 issues, he will usually return them the next day. Could this mean that he knows of Hannes' death and was scared to the point that he no longer dares to go into the evil library again? Yes, he started by borrowing several related history books and journals until he narrowed down what he needed, which is very similar to what I had read. This means that there were no one teaching him. There was no senior associate professor from the history department of the university. He did this completely through trial and error. What will shock target you? Two choices. One, if he had all the necessary information, he would head straight to the main peak of Fornazi's mountain range. Two, if he still lacks information, he would lay down low and observe the situation. He would only show himself again if he's certain that Hana's death wouldn't implicate him. Interesting. I really like Klein's thought process. He thinks a lot. Having made his conclusion, Klein closed the borrowing records and returned them to the librarians. He then took out the portrait and asked if anyone had seen the man. Unfortunately, many people came to borrow books every day, and the librarians didn't have an impression of the average person. Alright, thank you for your time. Klein put away his ID documents and his badge. He had no intention of continuing the investigation alone. It wasn't only dangerous, but also troublesome. He planned to head to Suitland Street once again and hand the case over to Captain and his teammates. He planned to go home and prepare his tomato oxtail soup for his siblings before heading to the world above the grey fog, divining target's whereabouts and condition. Officer, is there anything else? Librarian asked sincerely as he heaved a sigh of relief. Damn, librarians were scared. What up, Bullseye? How are you doing? Hira nodded and answered, no, I will come back if there are new clues. He held his black cane with his left hand and made his way to the door. At this moment, he saw a man enter the library with his head hung low. He was dressed as a double-breasted goat, its collar standing tall. When they walked past each other, Klein caught a glance of his thick, messy brows and his pair of greyish blue eyes. It's serious! There were things the tall collar couldn't hide. Serious Arapis. A coincidence. Klein froze. He didn't expect to meet his target here. What kind of luck was this? Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Yep. Serious walks through the Deweyville Library. The script. He evaluated his physical condition and felt his aching sore muscles. Thus he acted as though nothing had happened and continued walking toward the door. Well, I have to follow what our heart tells us. Safety matters. It doesn't matter if I miss this opportunity as long as Sirius is still in Dingen. At this moment, the man in double-breasted coat arrived before the counter and was handling the journals to one of the librarians. It's a return, he said with a soft, muffled tone. The librarian received the journals casually, and when he saw it, he suddenly froze. Fuck! The librarian is gonna expose us! He subsequently looked up indifferently as his body couldn't help but tremble. Is there a problem? The man asked in deep voice. His question seemed like a spark that ignited a fuse, causing the librarian to instantly lose self-control. He sprinted to the side and shouted, "Officer!" Following up on the criminal is here! At that moment, Klein, who had left the building, cursed madly in his heart. He instinctively reached for his holster with his right hand and drew his revolver. The man froze for a moment before turning and breaking into a sprint. Holy shit, dude. Yeah, Klein wanted to dip. Wait, let me fix the fucking music. It's so low, right? No. 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 Sure. But he didn't head for the door. Instead, he escaped in the direction of the oriel window to the side as he wanted to smash through the glass and jump out onto the street. Klein, who was flustered, turned his head to see the scene when he felt a sudden calm. He realized that even though he was afraid of the target, his target was more afraid of him. Damn, it's like it's like two cats. The man must be unable to determine my abilities in such an abrupt meaning. He isn't clear on what I am adept in, and so he'll instinctively avoid a direct confrontation and look for other ways to escape. Confident of his analysis, Klein lifted his revolver and pulled the trigger. Damn! At that moment, the man in double-breasted coat abruptly rolled onto the ground in attempt to avoid the bullet. Followed up on that, he pressed down the ground with his right hand and propelled himself into the air towards the oriel window. Click! Klein's first shot was empty, but this was something he had expected. He took advantage of Sirius' inability to dodge while in mid-air to aim at his torso and pull the trigger. Bang! The silver demon hunting bullet tore through the air and penetrated straight through the Sirius' back. Crash! The glass shattered and Sirius flew out the window, leaving drops of crimson blood on the crystalline glass fragments and windowsill. Klein was no longer afraid now. The target was injured. He ran over and jumped out the window with the help of a chair. By the way, Klein won because of his paranoia. Sorry, because of Sirius' paranoia. Sirius did not know how strong Klein was. Klein was no longer afraid, yeah. This was the area lining the back of the library ground floor. A row of trees isolated a lush green field. The injured Sirius was running to the side in an attempt to enter a small alley between two buildings. Having not practiced shooting at moving targets, Klein didn't dare to fire blindly. He would only carry his cane in one hand and his gun in other as he pursued the man in a black coat. He's still running. Tap, tap, tap. He followed the trail of blood on the floor and tried to close the distance. With the corner coming up, the injured Sirius' speed became slower and slower. Klein, who had been waiting for an opportunity to capture him, suddenly felt a little afraid. He felt as though the man in front of him wasn't human, but a wolf or a tiger. He's losing control, one that harbored terrifying dangers. This was an instinct he had as a seer, and also a warning given to him by his spirituality. Klein immediately slowed down, his eyes scanning the blood on the ground. Compared to the blood he had seen earlier, Sirius' blood was now black. At this moment, a violent wind overwhelmed him. Sirius' face was reflected in Klein's eyes. Thick, messy brows, greyish blue eyes, multiple protruding warts. Ew! An open mouth with two rows of white teeth. Jesus! Sirius was launching a counterattack at this moment. This made the face reflected in Klein's eyes more visible. He could even smell a particularly putrid stench. Sirius bounced a distance of 7 or 8 meters, but far more than any normal human being could jump. Oh my god, this fight is crazy! And donghua, it was like over. But Klein had stopped chasing him just in time. There was still a distance of nearly 10 meters between them. When the distance was shortened to 2 meters, the sticky saliva, ew, caused by a tool and the disgusting tense warts formed a harrowing scene that made Klein's nerves tense up. Without thinking, he seized the opportunity of temporary immobility caused by Sirius' pounce to raise his right hand. He fired without stopping, allowing the bullets to rain down on target's head. Bang, 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 bang. Shooting from such a close distance allowed the silver demon hunting bullets to thrill through Sirius' head. Blood splattered everywhere as his face became more and more mangled, until he strangled backwards. Klein had emptied the bullets in his revolver. In an instant, he subconsciously wanted to take a few steps back in order to confirm the results of this battle. But at this moment, Sirius gave Klein the shock of his life by trying his hardest to stand up straight. Klein abruptly lifted the cane in his left hand. Smack! The sturdy silver inlaid black cane struck Sirius' neck, leaving a dark red mark. Smack, smack. Klein is going all out, dude. Klein is like beating Sirius like a dog. Wow. Don't beat your dogs. But damn. I wanted Klein to smack Sirius and donghua like that. Smack, smack, smack. Klein acted on instinct, raining blows on his opponent until Sirius collapsed, tumbling onto the ground. Damn, Klein, you're scaring me. Huff, puff, huff. Klein supported himself with his cane and took deep breaths. His eyes were trained intently on his target, afraid that Sirius would suddenly jump back to his life. Klein is scared. At that moment, Sirius' head had basically been smashed into a pulp, and the warts gradually receded. His body stopped moving after a few convulsions. Klein was in no hurry to examine the corpse. Instead, he tossed his cane to the side and took out the demon hunting bullets he had on him, loaded his revolver. After doing this, he collected himself and fought back his disgust, leaning down to search the pockets of Sirius' double-breasted coat. Oof. Wow. I who beats their dogs? Hopefully nobody. Anyway, Klein fought with Sirius. Sirius lost control. That explains the warts and everything. And I just wanna say I like this scene more than donghua. I think Klein was seriously like scared and scary when he beat him with his cane, right? I'm serious. I'm guessing because he got shot multiple times, that's why he lost control, because that triggered him losing control. Also, I think Klein got a little bit lucky that he was also scared of Klein. They were both scared of each other because they didn't know what others were. Yeah, I'm just gonna check the idea in general. Expect. I'm curious now, Lucirem. Yeah, I'm gonna get a clown recipe. He was cornered and afraid. Yeah. Mr. Said. Okay, here we go. 104. Wow, that was actually like I imagine Klein beating Sirius the Kane, man. I'm imagining Klein's face. That's scary. Anyway, next chapter, Mr. Said. And 4. Aurora ordered a bunch of fruits. 1 pocket, 2 pocket, 3 pocket. Klein soon found a blood-stained wallet, a durable library card, 2 pairs of brass keys, an unstuffed smoking pipe, a sheathed dagger. Wait, am I recording? Also, wait. Is Klein a loot goblin? What do you guys think? Laying everything onto the ground except for the letters, he stood up straight and looked at the wallet. He confirmed that 3 were only 10. There were only 10 plus solely and some copper pennies. Wow, brokey. The craftsmanship of the wallet is quite exquisite. It's such a pity, Klein sighed, feeling a little distracted. If I didn't spend so much on my private stash of money, buying a wallet would have been on my schedule today. After shaking his head, Klein opened the letter and quickly scanned through them. Dear Mr. Said, please allow me to defend myself. When Hannas and I sold off the Antigonus family's notebook, it wasn't stupidity or betrayal. I didn't appear special in any way when it was in our hands. I suspected it was that it's alive and that its wicked item armed with a certain life and wisdom. It was something dangerous that needed to be sealed. At different stages and before different people, it shows different contents. This is proven fact that I've learned from the lamb in the police station. Although the notebook shows content that is sufficient through each time with plenty of evidence, I believe that it will only reveal the completed content in the hands of a descendant of the Antigonus family. So, Bieber. When Hannas and I received it, we could only see some trivial matters of the Antigonus family, the general situation of the nation overnight on the main peak of Hannas' mountain range, and also the 3 sequence potion formulas we handed in to you previously. As you know, the Secret Order has the Seer pathway in its grasp and possesses powerful tracking abilities, so Hannas and I believe that it would be a risky move to continue keeping the book. The value it had presented to us wasn't insufficient for us to take the risk. Since we could wait for a reply, we agreed amongst ourselves to sell the notebook to Welch, who was living on the same street. He enjoyed collecting relics and ancient books as he could afford to pay a high price for it. As for the subsequent developments, you are already aware of it. This is the first thing I'd like to explain. As I am writing these words, Hannas is dead. He died to a heart attack during his sleep. That must have been a blessing from God to prevent him from suffering the outcome of falling into the hands of heretics. I had no choice but to move to somewhere safer. I think Mr. Said killed Hannas, no? That was in the donghua. I didn't even dare to leave the house. Luckily, the lamb told me that the reason Hannas was being eyed by the heretics wasn't because of the Antigonus family notebook, nor was his identity exposed. It was that he had taken in a silly female disciple in the hopes of slowly developing her into one of us. Oh, Selena. His female disciple had stolen a glance of his second incantation and third magic divination while a Nighthawk heretic was watching. So yeah, the Nighthawk heretic is Klein. I believe you can pretty much guess the rest of the story, so there's no need for me to describe it. It's a pity that the position of the lamb isn't high enough, so the actual details cannot be determined. Wait a second. Who's the lamb in the police station? Lamb is a god name. Random tune. I feel like random tune is gonna be a significant maybe. But I mean, the story already with Antigono's Notebook was finished developing in the donghua. I'm guessing it's more stuff that wasn't put in donghua. Therefore, it's pity that the position of the lamb isn't high enough so the actual details cannot be determined. From various feedback, it seems that heretics gave yet to suspect me. Their investigation came to halt to Hana's sudden death. Therefore, so Hana's died from heart attack, so that was donghua only thing where Mr. Seth killed him. Therefore, I will return to the streets and plan to borrow a few more journal issues from the Medieval Library to seek out more clues. As a faction that also had the seer pathway in its grasp, the Antigono's family must have had some divinations regarding to its decimation. They must have left behind secret treasures that would allow for the revival of the family. There's sufficient reason to believe that the treasure is hidden on the main peak of the Donghua mountain range. It is one of the few relics in the nation of Evernight. Ooh. Having heard that, Klein, I wonder what that treasure can be, like how powerful it is. I'm guessing when Klein goes to Donghua mountain range, he might trigger the resurrection of the Antigono's family somehow. Remember how the people in Hornatz's mountain range all disappeared without like leaving a dead body behind? What if Klein goes and all these people were resurrected and they will be like, I don't know, somehow reincarnated as Antigono's family or something like that? That's the relic. Reincarnation. It's just very far stretched and I'm just guessing. But you know, you miss 100% of shots you don't take, so... Having read that, Klein pupils constricted rapidly, clearly dropped the letter. Revival, as in reincarnation. Goofy theory. Okay, not username, sorry. XS fan. The pathway that Antigono's family had in its grasp was a seer pathway. What a coincidence. Thunder seemed to boom. I mean, that's also why I think Mr. Sede Saratul as well, by the way. I'm just saying. Also, I think Saratul had a really big connection to Antigonos. Wait, but then again, Antigonos was during the previous epoch, so not really. But I think Saratul has some kind of connection to that. Thunder seemed to boom in Klein's head again and again, left him in daze. He felt as though it was destiny. The notebook that led to the original Klein's death and indirectly helped me transmigrate originate from the Antigonos family that has the seer pathway in its grasp. The one that eventually made me choose the seer potion was Emperor Cell's diary. While Emperor Cell was biased towards the seer sequence because of the mysterious Mr. Saratul, who was the leader of Sacred Order, which also has the seer pathway in its grasp. This is a suffocating net sewn by fate. What exactly is lurking behind all of this? Klein held. But the Mr. said being Mr. Saratul is so obvious that it might not be true. Klein held the letter and paced back and forth. He needed to verify its contents with other sources. It's too obvious to be true, I mean. Yes, the secret order that Taratur family controls is pursuing and searching for the belongings left behind by the Antigonus family. If both parties share the same beyonder sequence, there will be a sufficient reason and motive. Perhaps it is to bridge any missing sequence, obtain the rare ingredients for a higher sequence. Advancement or covet the other party accumulated experiences in avoiding the loss of control. Going by this line of thought, it is rather reasonable that the Antigonus family has at least part of the sheer sequence chain. Yes, when I was divining for clues pertaining to the clown potion, the images that emerged were mostly related to the Antigonus family. The only exception was a suited clown from the secret order. True. Therefore, the true meaning behind the symbolism is that each scene carries the possibility of obtaining the clown potion and the clue. However, I didn't understand the crux of the issue and regrettably missed it. With the Duke corroborating evidence, Klein nearly believed the matters that Sirius had brought up in the letter. He also understood why he constantly heard the word Hornazis in the murmurs he shouldn't be hearing. So Hornazis, I'm guessing, is not from Zaratul. I'm guessing Hornazis Phlegaria might be connected to the notebook because of they wanna... Wait, does that mean that the Antigonus family was behind the resurrection or transmigration of Klein? Probably not, right? I think that's a different from the line. So let's say the murmurs are from Zaratul because it has to be a high sequence here. We now know that the Antigonus family also had serial connections. Does Zaratul want to resurrect the people of Antigonus family? I'm guessing. By the way, Zaratul, the secret order of Mr. said in no order of Oracle, so it's strange that they're the same person. Zaratul is supposed to be dead, right? I'm just saying that maybe Zaratul is somehow alive and has taken the alias of Mr. Said and is... because Aurora Order is a relatively new order, right? You see, I don't think Zaratul is dead. But that's what people are thinking because he was alive 300 years ago or something like that. 220 years ago? Anyway, what I want to say is... whatever the murmurings are for Klein to go to Hornazis and somehow revive the Antigonus family, now that I'm thinking about that. And I'm guessing... Okay, I'm gonna keep guessing that it's from Zaratul, but Zaratul has something to benefit from the Antigonus family being revived. Why would he be dead? Because he was mentioned 220 years ago. Unless we know that it's not a cultivation anime. Sorry, donghua or novel. That doesn't mean that all Beyonders higher secret spoilers live longer. That's not confirmed. We know that Asik is really old, but I think that's because to do with the death pathway. And he's like sequence... What was he again? Like very high? Unless, like, I might also make the theory that he is alive because of high sequence Beyonder live longer, but it's not confirmed, is it? Anyway. The two corresponding evidence, yeah? Going by this line of thought, it's rather reasonable that the Antigonus family has at least part of the series sequence chain. Yes, when I was divining for clues pertaining the clown potion, the images that emerged were mostly related to Antigonus family. The only exception was the suited clown from the secret order. Therefore, the true meaning behind the symbolism is that each scene carries the possibility of obtaining the clown potion and the clue. However, I didn't understand the crux of the issue and regrettably missed it. With the two corresponding evidence, Klein nearly believed the matters that Sirius had brought up in the letter. He also understood why he constantly heard the word Hornazis in the murmurs he shouldn't be hearing. The earliest occurrence of this happening was when I first consumed the seer potion. See? First consumed, there has to be high sequence here. He wore a serious expression as he thought to himself. Meanwhile, he guessed that being a survivor of those that made contact with relic of the Antigonus family and becoming a Beyonder of the seer pathway were two necessary conditions to hear the murmur say King Hornazes. Is really a secret treasure buried with the ancient ruins of the main peak of the Hornazes mountain range by the Antigonus family? No, I can't think about this. The notebook alone has killed so many people. Any complete treasure would be even more terrifying. Klein shook his head subconsciously and cast his gaze on the third piece of paper, which was the last of the letters. Honorable Mr. said, I hope I can gain your assistance. I believe that you should be sufficiently interested in my treasure too. Until then, I will make myself look like a normal person, a normal lover of history. When the end of days arrives, I will offer, doomsday. Of course, I will offer all of Dingen's lambs as a sacrifice to God. Humbly, serious Arapis. When he finished reading Sirius' letter, Klein had the urge to laugh. Why do you feel like I saved Dingen? What was this guy trying to do? Heretics are truly unbelievable. Who is this Mr. said? He seems like someone in high position. At the very least, he should be at the same sequence as Captain. Where was Sirius sending the letter to? He didn't write down the address. It seems like the cautiousness of a heretic. They will put the address until the movement before they send it out. Alright, if the Antigonus had the potion of Seer Pathway in the grasp, then would the clown potion be among the 3 formulas inside the Antigonus family's notebook that Sirius sent? Highly likely. In an instant, Klein seemed to have found the clues to the clown potion. Although Sirius didn't bring the formula along with him, it was possible that he had left some room of record at his hideout. He must have had it in his head, in his memories. Ooh! Klein looked at the corpse before him and considered the problem of making a dead person speak. It's required almost no serious consideration as an idea immediately popped into his head. Mediumship. Spirit mediums could directly communicate with spirits that had yet to disperse. Sirs, mystery buyers, and others could roughly accomplish the same thing using ritualistic magic. Previously, when he was dealing with the corpse of Asude Clown, there were 3 things that had kept Klein from using mediumship. Firstly, he was in a hurry to save the rest. Secondly, he didn't have the ingredients with him. And lastly, he lacked confidence. The most important, but he lacked confidence. Thus, he didn't consider the option of mediumship and missed his best chance. When they returned to Blackthorn Security Company, its spirit was mostly gone. Even a spirit medium would only get superficial information. Now the Klein happened to have the ingredients and tools, and they happened to... Damn! Our king, by the way. Klein was preparing all of these ingredients in his pocket just in case, and it paid off. I have the experience of communicating with lingering resentment through the help of dream divination. My only concern about contacting the spirit of heretic will be being placed in the same situation as Captain entered into Hana's dream, where he saw a horrifying existence. However, Captain only remained frail for 2 days, and he wasn't considered severely injured. Yes, I could give it a try. He assisted for less than 20 seconds before making a decision. He didn't want to miss out on this opportunity. He raised his head, turned around, and cast his gaze toward the spot where window had shattered. There was a crowd gathered there watching. He took out his ID card and patch before returning to the broken window, and then he told the unlockers through the shattered oil window. I'm a probationary inspector from the Special Operations Department of Ava County Police. I have shot the criminal to death. Please take this badge to the nearest police station and tell them to send backup to deal with the follow-up. The rest are to help to cordon off this area. Do not allow anyone to come close. They might contaminate the scene. Yes, officer. The librarian caused Klein's trouble quickly took the badge. That guy, by the way, damn. When the entire scene was cordoned off and no one could enter the glass badge, Klein returned to the corner and stood by the side of the corpse. He was glad that the innocent crowd couldn't see the dead body, which looked more like a monster than a human. He put down his cane and revolver, then reached into the inner pocket of his trench coat to take out the metal bottle. He was going to use techniques of a mediumship ritual with dream divination to make the dead man speak. Here we go. He's gonna see a brain and other stuff, the ingredients for the potion, right? 105. Also, I really like this chapter with the messages and stuff. We learn more about the Antigonus family and how they want to get resurrected. So I'm guessing that Zarathul has a connection to the Antigonus family, has in his best interest for them to be resurrected. I'm saying it as a fact now that Zarathul is whispering to Klein. It still might be not Zarathul, but I think it is. So I'm guessing that him going there will like activate the relic somehow. I wonder if it is anything to do with puppets because of Or dolls or clowns. I mean, clown makes sense, right? But I went by like puppets because of the Q049. Let's go in next chapter. Spirit channeling. Client twisted open the golden bottle cap and brought it to his nose. He took a whiff of the simulating stent that energized him. This was the holy night powder made using slumber flowers, dragon blood, grass, deep red sandalwood, mint, and other herbs. Then it was simple to concoct. Klein had made a batch the moment he got the ingredients from the underground market. It was going to be used of now. He poured a little on the holy night powder on his palm and collected himself. His irises turned dark. Next, Klein put away the metal bottle and scattered the powder onto the ground after infusing his spirituality into it. He shattered the powder as he walked, forming a circle around Sirius's corpse. A formless barrier arose, separating them from the outside world. Klein flicked away the remaining holy night powder on his hand and took out the other metal bottle. He sprinkled the amantha extract and other liquids in the surrounding area. The ritual he set up was different from the old Neil who used at Ray Bieber's house, since the aim of the ritual was different. For example, Unc Neil poured the liquids before using the holy night powder that could create a serene and holy state second only to the actual altar. Klein had used the holy night powder first before pouring the liquids to prevent serious remnant spirituality from being disturbed by the surroundings objects, while still barely managing to have an environment that satisfied the requirements of the ritual. If he had used old Neil's method, the rest of Sirius' spirituality would have been purged, making it impossible to establish a connection. After finishing the preparations, Klein put away the materials and entered a state of cogitation. He recited the Hermes incantation softly. I pray for the power of dark night. I pray for the power of mystery. I pray of the goddess grace. I pray that you allow me to communicate with the heretic spirituality inside this altar. Let's go. Should I read faster? As the incantations reverberated through the sealed space, Klein suddenly felt a massive, terrifying, and mysterious energy descend upon him. His eyes turned completely black, as though he had lost his pupils and the whites of his eyes. Seizing the opportunity, Klein recited a divination statement in his heart. The formula to the clown potion. The formula to the clown potion. He was reciting the statement. He used cogitation temporarily enter a dreamlike state. It was a hazy grey world without a sky or ground. Klein was unusually alert as he observed the transparent, ethereal figure. Extended his right hand, he touched the remnants of Sirius' spirit. The scene in front of him changed with a rumble. It was a sturdy table painted with dark red paint. There were 3 candles on a silver candle stand, as well as a blank piece of paper. Okay, here we go. Sirius had a pen in his hand. He wrote in Loan language. This is the second formula in its name. The notebook is clown. Okay, here we go. The ingredients: 80 mils of pure water, 5 drops of thornapple juice, 7 grams of black rimmed sunflower powder, 10 cheese of golden clove grass powder, 3 drops of poison hemlock. These are supplementary ingredients. The main supernatural ingredients are 1 crystal as the single horn of matured Hornach's grey mountain goat, and a complete stalk of human-faced rose. Interesting. Sirius seemed to have clown potion formula memorized as he quickly finished writing it. He paused for a moment and took a sip of coffee. Then he unwound the silver pendulum around his wrist. He held the pendulum and closed his eyes, muttering terms to himself such as the end of days, peace of mind, hope for the Lord's blessing, and confess. Interesting. As Sirius finished his prayer, Klein finally saw the pendulum clearly. Under the wound silver chain was a thumb-sized human figurine. The figurine had a single eye, a trait unique to giants. So like Cyclops, that was facing down, his legs bound by chains connected upwards. At that moment, the single eye in the giant suddenly faded red glow. Crack! The seeing Klein witness shuddered as his legs buckled, almost causing him to kneel on the ground. She's the true creator. Klein felt pain in his head as though he had been struck ruthlessly. Can there imagine if the true creator is actually a giant beyonder who's chained? A Cyclops? Glenn felt pain in his head as though he had been struck by ruthlessly in the head with a bat. His vision turned blood red as his hands involuntarily reached out to protect his knees. He recovered several seconds later and stood back up. He felt that his spirituality was unusually weak, as if he had heard the murmurings that penetrated his mind once again. But due to his progress in digesting the magic medicine, that adverse reaction calmed down quickly. The hanged giant, the cruel creator. So my theory is that all Orthodox and unorthodox gods are high sequence beyonders. I think the Orthodox gods are all like sequence 1, and the unorthodox gods are like sequence 1 or 2. The hanged giant, the true creator. So maybe a giant is a beyonder. I mean, what stops from giants and elves being beyonders? Sirius and Hanas were both members of the Aurora Order, but the captain saw a huge cross in Hana's dream, terrifying being crucified, and the cross wasn't the Aurora Order's hung giant. There wasn't a cross really when Don Smith was looking at it, was there? Klein took 2 deep breaths and waited for his spirituality to slowly recover. Wait, did Don see a huge cross? I thought it was chained and hanging. The Aurora Order was a secret organization that sprang into existence about 200 to 300 years ago. Same time Zaratul was mentioned in Roselle's diary, they worshipped the true creator and symbolized him with the hanged giant. They believed that every human being had divine qualities, and as long as they preserved and made it through the countless trials, they will be able to accumulate enough divine qualities to become angels. According to the internal records of the Nighthawks, the Sequence 9 of the Aurora Order was a secret suppliant. His beyonders could sense the existence of mysterious and horrifying beings and were armed. So secret suppliants, like are there acting methods? Hanged giant. Yeah, makes sense. Also, that is secret suppliant acting method being a drug dealer, by the way. Mysterious and horrifying beings and were armed with a decent amount of knowledge regarding sacrifices and some knowledge of ritualistic magic. There was enough evidence to claim that senior secret suppliants experienced distortions of their worldview and conscious control easily. Little was known about the Sequence 7, which Aurora Order had grasped. Sequence 8 was Listener. This was considered quite a terrifying job for a Beyonder. Listener! Holy shit, I can hear voices in my head. Let me open my notes. Ooh, Listener. That's actually creepy. Ugh. It's actually so freaking creepy, dude. Easy to act though. Right? Oh! Thank you, FQ, alright. Supplicant, secret supplicant. Oh! Oh, that makes more sense now. I see. Thank you for the explanation. That's actually really useful. Every listener could listen directly to the whispers of the secret entities, thus they frequently came into contact. I would go schizo if I was a listener, by the way. Came into contact with powerful, distorted, unique abilities, but consequently, if they were unable to advance, it was difficult for them to survive the next 5 years after becoming a listener. Furthermore, the comments the Nighthawks had in the reports were that every listener was a lunatic. Jesus, even if they looked normal on the surface, they were always crazy on the inside. I would hate being a listener, man. Oh my god. The details of the report regarding Aurora Order flashed through. I'm getting anxiety by that description. Like, I feel like I'm hearing voices now. From the description, secret suppliant are hopeless as seers in battle. Doesn't fit serious sections just now. What happened later was a loss of control brought about the injury. Yeah, that's what I said. Yes, Fry once said that every Beyonder will more or less undergo some mere changes after they die. Blind thought as he tapped 4 points on his chest to praise the goddess. After his spirituality recovered slightly, he concluded the ritual with the appropriate procedure and dismantled the wall of spirituality. With a whoosh of gust of wind blew as Klein forced himself to look Sirius' corpse. He noticed that there was still an obvious wart on Sirius' mangled face. It was dark purple wart, almost black. There seemed to be liquid, and light gleaming within. Jesus. Disgusting. What did I do? What did Lord do? What kind of transformation was that? Klein rubbed his temples, not daring to touch it. He bent over and retrieved his cane, allowing it to bear his weight. After what had just happened, he knew that Sirius' spirituality had been completely destroyed. Even the spirit medium Dali would have been unable to communicate with him. After a while, Klein saw Captain Dunn and his partner Leonard and Kenley. It seems like your fate is tied to Beyonders and evil forces. In just few weeks, you have come across more supernatural incidents that we have usually seen in months. Leonard joked, looking at the corpse on the ground. Ooh, I forgot the zesty voice. It might not be coincidence, Klein added, as he suddenly thought about the red chimney he had seen in his dream divination, as well as the majestic palace on the main peak of Hanatsis mountain range, and the formless focus on him. He took the opportunity to mention it in passing. Dunn surveyed the surroundings and, with his grey eyes trained on Klein, asked, I'm surprised it's not said. Dunn surveyed the surroundings and, with his receding hairline trained on Klein, asked, you tried channeling his spirit? There were still traces of holy night powder and scent of the essential oils. Yes, Klein replied truthfully. I was worried that you would arrive late and that the remains of his spirituality would scatter. You don't look well. Are you alright? The short Kenley. What? You don't have to mention he's short, asked in concern. Klein passed Sirius on their delivered letter to the captain and began from the beginning. When I went to the underground market to purchase materials for the rituals, I suddenly remembered that Selena had also once gone to the evil dragon bar, and it was Hannas Vincent that brought her there. This meant that Hannas was a regular there, thus I suspected the person in the portrait, someone who's definitely connected to Hannas, might have gone to the underground market too. How tall are you, XS fan? Be honest. I asked the boss fan about the portrait and he gave me confirmation. He told me that the man had once tried to buy documents and items related to the Honatsis mountains. That reminded me of the library. I recalled that the librarian had mentioned that someone had just returned the journal issue I wanted to borrow. Leonard stood to the side, listening with a smile. He suddenly interrupted. And so, you brought your identification documents and badge here to flip through the borrowing records? Actually, I'm very curious. Why would you come into conflict with the man here? Even if it was a direct encounter, why your style of doing things? You won't pretend that you didn't know him and will just leave the library. Then you will come to Sutton Street to ask for our help. You're exactly right, Leonard. But the librarian over there was shouting at us. Yes, there was no need for you to take the risk. As long as you confirm target and they wasn't left hanging, there will always be a way to find him, Don added as he reviewed the letter, and immediately said in embarrassment. The librarian recognized him and shouted for the police to help. You're 180? Okay. There's no way he could have pretended not to hear that. Leonard and Kenley looked at each other. One tried to cover his amusement while the other turned his head to the side. Dunn nodded at his gaze, leaving the letters. Did you get anything from channeling his spirit? I saw a pendulum that took the shape of a hanged giant. I saw a blood-red glow flash in the giant's only eye before I was forced out of the ritual, Glenn described honestly. Did he want to talk about the clown potion for the time being, as he had two considerations. Firstly, if Dunn and the rest were able to find Sirius' hideout and the corresponding records, then it would make no difference if he told them or not, as there would be no additional contributions attributed to him. Second, if Dunn and the rest were unable to find it, he could report it in the future. This way he would be awarded with another contribution, allowing him to acquire the ingredients needed to concoct the potion. This was a way to obtain double the reward for a single task, a technique that stemmed from old Neil's recent teachings. Aurora Order, Dunn muttered to himself before he asked some relevant questions. After Klein answered all his questions, he saw the fatigue in Klein's eyes and waved his cane. Not bad. You foiled a scheme that was targeting Tingen. You can go back and rest Genli. Bring Unc Neil over. After giving instructions, Dunn smiled bitterly and shook his head. Before Sequence 6 Beyonders off the C+ pathway lack many supplemental abilities. You can only conduct the simplest of ritualistic magic. Captain, you mean that from Sequence 6 onwards, C+ pathway Beyonder will gain improvements in the corresponding aspects? Klein asked out of curiosity. Yes, Dunn confirmed. Okay, interesting. After leaving the Weevil Library, Klein nearly fell asleep in the garage on the multiple occasions on the way back to Daffodil Street. He lumbered into the house, then he removed his hat and jacket before falling asleep on the sofa. Sometime later, he woke up abruptly, took out his pocket watch and snapped it open. Alyssa, we'll be back in half an hour, pencil in 45 minutes. If I don't get up, I'll have to make them wait an hour before I can have dinner. Klein rubbed his forehead as he entered the kitchen. Good older brother, by the way. I guess good brother, not older. Benson is the oldest. What? Alice is shorter than 5 feet? Holy shit. True femboy. Klein rubbed his forehead as he entered the kitchen. He washed his face with cold water, then he took out the oxtail, tomatoes, carrots, and onions he had bought that afternoon. Yeah, oxtail has to take a long time to cook. Wait, what? What? No, you're actually baiting. You're playing into the 5 feet thing. Under 5 is short. I'm 187 centimeters. After he prepared ingredients, he suddenly froze. He had feeling that his actions just now formed a strange juxtaposition with the incidents that afternoon. What the fuck is a juxtaposition? I'm a man who just saved Tingen, Klein mumbled in amusement, and he put a white apron and got to making dinner. That flag. Saving has to start soon. That's funny, FQ, alright? Wow. Anyway, Sirius has been defeated. We got the potion formula, a lot of ingredients that we need. Also, like a Hornatsis mountain goat. Was it the milk or was it the horn? I think so. Kinda ironic there. Suxa potion is contrast. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, a strange contrast with the incident that afternoon. That's cool. And also, I like how Leonard was like, "Oh, why did you do that?" Because of the librarian was screaming for help. So I guess Klein had no choice. I'm guessing that, you know, that coincidence. Alice height trivial. Yep. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna pee. Take a break. Bring some coffee or something. He doesn't look that tall. Reading. Still. My head is touching the roof, basically. That was a bad comparison. You can't really see that, but yeah, be right back. Yo, it's me. 106. Excess fan, you are rage baiting. I swear. It's not working. You're not him. You can never be him. Artist Klein. After 8 in the evening in the Moretti family dining room, as he looked at the shallow soup left in a bowl, Penson raised his hand to cover his mouth to give a satisfied burp. Damn. Although that was our 3rd time eating it, I still find it delicious. The sourness and sweetness of the tomato and the chewy texture of the oxtail blends into a perfect and unique flavor. Klein, I'm sorry that the background to good company caused Tingen City to lose such an outstanding chef. Lisa leaned backwards in her chair and nodded in agreement silently. This is because of you have set to try real cooking, Klein smiled humbly. If a chance in the future, let's head to Bonaparte restaurant in House Street for some authentic Intis cuisine. Bonaparte? Like Bonaparte... What was his name again? The short guy who conquered all of Europe? on a house street for some authentic Indian cuisine, and also a coastline restaurant in the Golden Indosporo for some southern delicacies. Golden Indosporo is the aristocrat place, right? Napoleon, yeah. I didn't make coffee because my dad is sleeping and the coffee machine is really loud. These were restaurants that were always covered in the newspapers, where the average cost per person was around £1.50. I like your cooking more, Melissa answered without hesitation. Aww. Benson chuckled and changed the topic. But they ultimately feel that there's something lacking from the tomato oxtail soup. Perhaps it shouldn't be eaten with bread. I nodded in agreement. It's best complicated with rice. Rice, Melissa muttered with an expression of yearning. Tingen, which was located north, wasn't considered a big city besides... wasn't considered a big city, what? Besides a few particular restaurants, it was difficult to have any chance of eating rice. To Benson and Melissa, this kind of food only existed in the descriptions of newspapers and textbooks. Looking at his sister's expression, Klein laughed. Wait till we have another 6 months salary and we'll find the chance to go on vacation in Tessie Bay and try the delicacies there. Tessie Bay was located in the far south of Longa Kingdom, and a third of it belonged to Feina Potter Kingdom. It had plenty of sunlight and beautiful scenery, and the paella there was very famous. Paella is a dish from paella is a dish from Spain. I'm saying it wrong, by the way. It's like paella, something like that. But Melissa would share her opinion. Klein said, in another 3 months I should get another raise. By then we will totally fulfill our desires to travel as well as save money for necessities. Wow, okay, Klein. Oh, I just realized none of that is gonna happen, man. Fuck. Why? Benson and Melissa's attention was redirected as expected. Klein coughed lightly and smiled while explaining. Due to my professionalism, the police department, which always collaborates with our company, tends to hire me as their part-time history consultant. You'll pay me extra, at least £2 a week. If you see me in police uniform in the future and showing the corresponding police documentation, please don't be shocked. Oh my god, he had a story for that already. Of course, as you know, the work efficiency in governmental departments is as slow as a 90-year-old lady's footsteps. They still have to go through a lengthy procedure, and they're required to do a thorough inspection of me. Hence, on my off days, the next few months, I'll be heading to University quite often to see my mentor and the teaching staff I know to learn more. Seeing the shocked look in his brothers and sisters' eyes, he paused and said with a strange expression, just like Emperor Rosell said, one is never too old to learn. Exactly. Benson maintained a few seconds of silence before saying in half a self-deprecating and half emotional manner, is it too late for me to sign up for university? Knowledge really is wealth. Oh, come on, Benson is never too old. By the way, Benson, my goat. How old is Benson? 25, right? I'm gonna be 25 next year, and I'll go to university at 25 years old. It's never too late, Benson. And also power, Klein added silently. Benson, you need Klein's grammar books and these classic literature textbooks, Melissa said out of the blue, stealing the 2 words from Klein's mouth. Klein is 22. A better hairline than Benson, true. Benson's expression seemed to change. He gritted his teeth and said, Klein, pass me those books tonight. Oh, even if all they do is put me to sleep, I'm determined to read them for an hour. No, an hour and a half a day. Let's go, Benson. I swear in the name of Goddess, if I can't do it, I'll be curly-haired for a boon. A smile immediately plastered across Klein's face. No problem. Oh, I love these family moments, man. The next morning, Klein hung his coat and hat on the clothes rack in the break room. Then he followed Roseanne's instructions and walked to the restaurant to the duty room outside Chinese Gate. Captain Dunn and members Fry, Sika, Royal, Leonard, and Kenley were all there. At his grey eyes glanced past newly promoted Nighthawk, Dunn smiled and said, we have a routine meeting every Thursday to summarize past missions and discuss various changes. I am a man who has endured the test of many regular meetings as well, Klein lampooned. He found a seat and joked. Do I need to introduce myself? Dunn smiled and turned to look at Kenley. Wow. Briefly tell us about the investigation of Sirius Arapis. Kenley was also a Nighthawk who had been promoted from a member of the civilian staff. He wasn't very tall. His brown hair was quite thick. His body size was average. His muscles were very toned, and he looked like someone who was smart and capable. Yeah, 22, like I said. He thought and said with The Totem said, with Unc Neil's help, we found Sirius' secret hideout. There are many books and items in the scene. From them, we can ascertain that Sirius was one of the underground members of the organization, the Aurora Order. He was also a secret suppliant. There's sufficient evidence to show that he had Hannes Vincent sold the anti-Conusam notebook to Welch. Those who don't remember Welch can ask Klein about him. Those who don't remember Welch can ask Klein about him. We found valuable items including 3 sequence potion formulas, which are sequence 9 Seer, sequence 8 Apprentice, and sequence 8 Clown. Subsequent task is to use Sirius social circle and the letters he found to locate other outer circle members and the Aurora Order. The focus on our search will be directed at the heretic who has infiltrated the police department. Yeah, who the fuck is that? Also, people who were in contact with Hanas need to be reinvestigated. Dan nodded lightly and looked toward Klein. As you heard just now, we obtained the clown potion formula, but you are able to determine if it's real. We have to wait for the Holy Cathedral to give us feedback. Okay, Nightwalker. He had a smoking pipe in his hand and he had a prominent jawline, blade-like eyebrows and dark blue eyes that sized up his client. Klein used the collar of his trench coat to block half of his face as he spoke. I have 2 matters to discuss and trust you. How are your rates? Wait, what? Oh, what the fuck? I skipped the page. What the fuck? Wait, where am I? I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? What? Here. I was like, what is going on? In a mission writing to Aurora Order, you have made a crucial contribution. Plus, given that you shot a member of the Secret Order, it won't be long until you accrue enough contributions to be promoted. But I have to remind you that not everyone is like Tali. You have suppressed your desire and wait for 3 years in order to avoid losing control. You can't allow your mindset to be affected by our discovery of the clown potion formula. Captain, you don't understand how magical it is to act. I have already confirmed the authenticity of clown potion formula using divination for the Grey Fog last night. Klein nodded obediently. Klein, what he wants to say versus what he says. I will keep my emotions in check. Then Sikatron, the quiet midnight poet with the white hair and black eyes, said. Then Sikatron, the quiet midnight poet with the white hair and black eyes, said. Still have found any clues regarding instigator Triss. I suspect that he has already fled from Tingen. Potatoes are the best because they're most versatile, by the way. After they were done exchanging their new information, Klein left the 2D room and found old Neil to continue his mysticism lessons in the afternoon. He went over to his combat teacher, Gawain, to do basic strength, endurance, and overall coordination training. With the sun still up, bright at 5. What's the day today? Thursday. It's a meeting day. Ben took off his training costume, took a quick shower and changed into his original clothing. He then took his public carriage to Bessic Street. He hadn't forgotten about the red chimney that he had seen in his dream divination, nor did he forget about the man that he suspected to be a member of the psychology alchemist, who had brought supplementary ingredients for the spectral potion in the underground market. These things will be inconvenient to investigate in his role as Nightwalk. Okay. Number 27, Henry's private detective company. Yep, it's here. Klein found a private detective company. According to the newspaper description, it's said to be trustworthy. He put on a mask, lowered his top hat, and flipped up his collar. He walked up to the stairs and came in company on the 2nd floor. He knocked on the door and was half closed. Please come in, said the voice that seemed to be affected by phlegm. So, that guy is sick, maybe? When will the video of this one be out? 4 weeks. Klein lifted his cane and pushed the door to enter. He saw the detective company using an utmost open layout. There were 4 employees sitting at their respective seats, partitioned into small cubicles. Ooh. Hi, I'm Detective Henry. How may I help you? A man with a white shirt and black vest greeted him. He had a smoking pipe in his hand and had a prominent jawline. Ooh, blade-like eyebrows and dark blue eyes that sized up his client. Prominent jawline, Sigma. Klein used his collar and his trench coat to block half of his face as he spoke. I have 2 matters to entrust to you. How are your rates? That depends on the task. Detective Harry retracted his gaze and pointed toward the sofa in his guest area. Let's talk over there. Klein followed him to the semi-partitioned area and sat on the single-seat sofa. He didn't take off his coat, nor did he take off his hat and mask. He purposely made his voice hoarse and said, "First, I need to help me find a house with a chimney that looks like this, as well as information on who the owner of the current tenants are." As he spoke, he took out neatly folded paper. Then he opened it. There was a chimney with its color noted down and its surrounding scenery. It's atrocious, yeah. This was drawing and Klein completed by using the uniqueness to the area above the grey fog and the method of bringing himself. Is it not also available in your country, Nightwalker and Masters? What a great drawing. Detective Henry complimented self-consciously, then knitted his eyebrows and said, "This is not complicated, but very tedious. It will require a long time and a large amount of manpower." What's up, Luke? Oh my god, what's happening? Why is it doubled sometimes? Manpower. Understand, Klein nodded lightly. Detective Henry pondered for a moment and said, £7. The price for this job would be £7 in addition. You have to give me at least 2 weeks. Alright, second, help me find this gentleman and find out his identity. The only thing I know is that he occasionally appears in an evil dragon bar near the harbor borough. You must not detect any men you send. He's very sensitive and he has terrifying observational skills. Klein took a second portrait. He needed to get in touch with a member of Psychology Alchemist to see if he could find any valuable information, materials, for example, perhaps a formula that could exchange with justice. £3. Such a mission will cost about £3 or £4. Your outstanding drawing skills will help my assistant and I save time. Detective Henry replied skillfully. £10 in total. Klein found the price upsetting, of course. By the way, if you can't buy or anything, just DM me on Patreon. We can work something out, right? Like, I feel bad for asking people money for my content when you don't have any. Then shall I come next week to check on your progress? Client didn't haggle over the price to prevent the observant detective from remembering any of these characteristics. What? Detective Henry took a puff of his pipe and said, "Yes, and you need to put a deposit of £2. When the progress, you need to pay another £3 or £5. The rest of the payment can be made when the mission is complete." Yeah, fair enough. Then I shall come next week to check your progress. Client didn't haggle over the price to prevent the observant detective from remembering any of his characteristics. After they signed the contract, he took out two £1 notes and passed them to the detective. He only had £1.17 left from his savings. As Detective Henry watched the man wearing a Cole's mask and a black trench coat with its collar raised leave in a hurry. He had a suspicious look in his eyes as he smoked his pipe. Why is he looking for a house that was kind of chimney? He must be an artist, or at least a professional sketch artist of some sort. The artist, Klein the artist, by the way. In the afternoon, when Viscount Klein looks, back to Backland. In Viscount Klein's luxurious mansion, Audrey with her maidservant and Tao followed the etiquette and passed her hand to the host. She looked at him, giving her hand in quick peck. Fuck you, Reese. Your beauty accentuates my salon. Client first gave a compliment as usual, then he lowered his voice and said, "That lady already here. She's a beyonder and also an author." Oh, beyonder and an author? Interesting. Beyonder and an author. A new character, maybe? You're in Backland. 107. Okay, I think I'll end the stream here. I'm joking. Because Sushi just got home with a joke. We're back with Miss Justice. So, Klein is hiring the FORS. Chapter 107, FORS. Isn't FORS... is FORS that... author? Because donghua, there was a character called FORS and she was an author, or he? Did I rage bait you, Lucina? Or like baited you? Anyway. Anyway, I'm continuing. I'm doing more chapters. Don't worry. Anyway, $1 took 2 more chapters. I'm joking. A client hired secret detectives to hunt down the building. Of course, that's the building where they're gonna do the ritual on Magus, and also the person's identity back in the market. Anyway, chapter 107. Let's go right now. The Forgotten One, you're seriously creepy. Okay, let's continue. Mikus. It's on purpose. I understand. It's scaring me a little bit. Not gonna lie, man. FORS, author. Audrey asked casually as she observed Klein's reaction. Subsequently, she didn't have to mind the presence of her maidservant, Annie, since they chatted about ordinary topics. Klein shaded his body and chuckled. Yes, I believe that you have read her works in the past. She wrote the book Stormwind Mountain Villa, which was widely acclaimed over the past few months. I enjoyed that book, especially the calm Lady Sissy, Audrey replied with a faint smile. Stormwind, isn't that from World of Warcraft? Lucy Rem. Oh my god, it's funny. Meanwhile, she was rolling her eyes at her own hypocrisy inwardly. That was because her latest hobby had nothing to do with novels. She had stopped reading Stormwind Mountain Villa a month ago. Her progress stopped at the 1/3 mark. Ever since she joined Dark Club and acquainted herself with the powerful Fool and become a real beyonder, she had been immersing herself in mysticism knowledge. She had been systematically learning about psychology and had lost interest in other activities. Smiling, Klein guided Audrey to the sofa in the hall. Yeah, Stormwind is the capital of the Alliance, by the way. I'm sure that Miss Forcefall will leave a good impression on you, but she's just like Stormwind Mountain villains Lady Sissy, calm, intellectual, and lazy. Lazy? Also, my dear Miss Audrey, are you going to play the piano for us later? This is the compliment for novel and literature. Audrey looked at the side profile of Klein's face. His expression, tone, and body language all conveyed his intention to flaunt himself. He wants to use me to show off, Audrey thought to herself, as she had just met this good friend of hers for the first time. She maintained her elegant smile and said, "My music teacher, Mr. Vicanel, the pianist, said my standards have deteriorated recently and needs more practice." Alright, Klein was just about wondering what to say when he suddenly saw a lady taking desserts from the long table. "Audrey, this is Miss FORS, author of Stormwind Mountain Villa." Making him creepy? I'm making him into a spoiled child born from incest. Sorry. Audrey looked over. Are you ads over, Lucy Rem? Audrey looked over. Audrey looked over at Miss Forcefall, was about 23 years old, younger than me, and 1.65 meters in height. Spectator can tell age and height immediately. Born from what? Huh? She was wearing a pale yellow dress with frills. Her brown hair was slightly curly. She looked over her pale blue eyes as Clint introduced her while wearing a smile that appeared ruminative. Audrey had noticed several small details in less than 3 seconds of observation. There are faint traces of yellow on Miss For's fingers. She likes cigarettes. Wow, good observation, dude. There are obvious calluses on her fingers as spots used to hold a pen, fitting her identity as an author. Her arm movements show that she had decent strength. She's not a quality. What kind of beyonder is she? Is there any author beyonders? Sequence 9, writer. Planter? No. Bard? Huh. Smoking is cool. I think smoking is dangerous and don't do it, but smoking aesthetically is a really cool thing. She displayed her calm, rational, her arm movements, perhaps she was born like this, or she might have engaged in some other occupation in the past. She displayed her calm, rational, and precise style in Stormwind Mountain Villa. This must be linked to their previous occupation. Her eyes and emotions are relaxed, giving me the feeling that she is looking down on me and claimed, is the psychological superiority of a beyonder has an ordinary human? It wasn't a coincidence that Clint discovered her identity as a beyonder, then she should feel some anxiety and uneasiness. After all, she is unable to guess his reaction and what he will do next, since the unknown always brings about fear. That indicates that she was one of the voluntary approached client, having learned about our hobbies. She must quite confident about what is going to happen next. Wow, okay. What if FORS wall is actually in control and manipulating you? Why would the Beyonder approach Clint? Does she need monetary support, or the Beyonder ingredients stored in treasury, or perhaps she needs help with something? At this moment, Clint was introducing Audrey to FORS. Madam, this is Miss Audrey that I mentioned previously, the most dazzling jewel in all Blackland. Her father is Earl Hall, a trusted aide of His Majesty and respected member of the cabinet. Good afternoon, Madam FORS. Stormwind Mountain Villa still seated by my bed to this very day. Audrey adhered to the rules of aristocracy and curtsied, but she added silently, that's because I haven't finished reading it after a month. FORS returned the niceties simply and said, Good afternoon, Miss Audrey. Your beauty sure leaves an impression. I think that I already have an idea for my next novel. Viscount Clint said that you have exceptional talents in music. They merely exchanged praises as they were in public. After watching FORS continue towards the dining table as she targeted cream cake, Audrey retracted her gaze and headed to the living room with Clint. She recalled the details she had been just now and tried to figure the motives of the woman. She wanted to gain some advantage in future conversations. As she took a step... By the way, I'm loving this. This is a new arc. I haven't seen yet. As she took a step forward, Audrey, who was calm and objective spectator, stepped on her dress and nearly fell. Aww. At the moment, her personal maidservant Annie caught her, allowing her to maintain her grace. Miss, the sign of this dress means that you cannot walk too quickly. Annie pulled close to Audrey's ear and reminded her softly. I know, Audrey nodded in reply, her face flushed red. I was too absorbed in observing others that I forgot to look at where I was placing my foot. She silently complained in resentment. Aww. Am I doing good voice for Clint? Audrey met with many other esteemed authors, critics, and musicians for the rest of the salon, and always maintaining her sweet, elegant smile. Finally, after her facial, also Audrey lost aura there by nearly falling over. Finally, after her facial muscles began turning sore, she saw Viscount Clint's signal, sore from smiling. She waited for a few minutes and gave the excuse of needing to use the washroom. She lifted her dress and stood up slowly to leave the salon. After confirming that there were no one tailing her, she made her way back to study on the first level and told her maidservant Annie, I have something to discuss with Clint. Guard the door for me. Yeah? I have something to discuss with Clint. Guard the door for me. Do not let anyone enter. Alright, Annie didn't feel the request was strange, but she knew that Audrey and Viscount Clint shared similar hobbies and would often discuss mysticism in a private setting. Audrey entered the study and locked the door. She saw Clint seated behind the desk while playing with a pen. Playing with the pen. See, he's like, this guy is like not the brightest tool in the shed. Maybe anyway, it's a normal thing to play with the pen. By the way, I'm just saying. FORS was standing in front of the bookshelf, nonchalantly flipping through a book. Are you for gender equality? Are you asking me? I'll introduce you both again. I introduce you both again. Madame FORS, a true beyonder. Client put down his pen and walked over. Is that so? Audrey intentionally exaggerated her feelings of doubt. FORS returned the book on the original position and turned around with a smile. It looks like I have to prove myself. She walked toward the door and extended her right palm, grabbing the handle of the door. Suddenly, Audrey's vision blurred out as if she witnessed Madame FORS turn incorporeal as she passed through the door. Sequence 9 door? She was shocked, making a portal maybe? Portal maker? She was shocked, concentrating. She realized that FORS is no longer standing in her original position. Teleporter? Sequence 9 teleporter? A few seconds later, a door handle turned. The locked door was opened just like that. FORS Wall smiled as she walked in front outside. Audrey's maid, Annie, who was not far away, didn't seem to be aware of what had happened. What a magical ability, Client exclaimed. Audrey took his deep breath and said, I have no more doubts. You should reserve the Client treatment to Audrey. Are you saying I am sexist towards males? I don't think... Sure, buddy. At the same time... So I'm guessing sequence 9 teleporter or teleport maker or transporter maybe? That's what I'm thinking. At the same time, the ability FORS had displayed allowed Audrey to confirm that her true motives were since acquiring money or materials would be no trouble for a beyonder like that. Yeah, she can just rob a bank. Wait, but how did she... Yeah. Client doesn't have any beyonder cards. FORS want to use the statues and resources available to Client and to achieve something. Audrey tried her hardest to act as a suspector. FORS chortled and said, let us interact with honesty. We do not have much time left. I was once a doctor at a clinic. I was given an opportunity to become a beyonder. That was more than 2 years ago. When she was 21, a doctor at 21. I hope that you can do something for me, and the reward I will give you is allow you to join the ranks of true beyonders. I will tell you the formula, a particular sequence potion, and its corresponding materials. Upon hearing such a promise, Client could not help but ask, what do you want us to do? I have a partner who is in jail now, awaiting the final verdict. I hope that you can save her, regardless of her methods used, FORS said simply. Audrey frowned. Madame FORS, the abilities you have demonstrated will be better suited for the task. FORS laughed and shook her head. No, that's not the case. She cannot pass through the places that I can. Oh, makes sense. So she can maybe rob a bank. I can only go in regularly and chat with her. Also, I think that risking my life to save her is not a good idea. Life is short, but there is much for us to do. Audrey observed. What did your friend do then? Audrey observed FORS's face and body language. She considered her words before asking. I understand. What crimes is your partner being locked up for? That's what I wanted to say as well. Maybe some bullshit. FORS's expression immediately turned a little awkward. My partner is a very respected person who can make others comply from the bottom of their hearts. He's a good character and kind. Well, it was the means she used to convince a dog. It was a little over the top. Oh, she's a beyonder as well? Maybe like a manipulator or something? Instigator? I don't know. No, she's a good character and kind. I don't think she would be. Comply from the bottom of their hearts. Damn, it's dangerous ability. After heading out the mission, Klein followed his original suggestion. After getting out the mission... No, back to Klein! Why? I don't want to go back to Klein! Sorry. I'm really enjoying new stuff that we can... I can't wait for Volume 2, man. I'm not hating volume 1. If everything was like blind for me, I will be so excited to read everything. I am excited to read everything, but I'm more excited to read new stuff to me. After handling out the mission, Klein followed his original schedule of mysticism lessons in the morning and combat lessons in the afternoon. The regularity of his life almost made him forget that he was a member of the Nighthawks. The curse of often encountering supernatural incidents seemed to disappear as well. Yeah, Masters? What's up? I shared some FORS art. We'll look at for in a second, guys. On Saturday, he's turned the car at Chinese Gate. You can enjoy the coffee I left here, a black tea in the clerk's room. Tan surveyed the room with deep grey eyes. Blind, who had already given an excuse to his siblings, nodded in joy. Alright, Captain, you sure are a generous gentleman. Tan laughed. Those will help you relax. Being tense all the time is not good for your health. He took his hat and cane after walked toward the door. As he was exiting the door, he suddenly turned around and said, I forgot to remind you. Do not open Chinese Gate no matter what you hear. Ooh, unless it opens from the inside. Remember, no matter what you hear, no matter what happens. That's scary. Captain, it's a little scary, that's what they said. London stopped instantly. He felt the darkness of the basement triumph over the light of Castle. I think it's because of that, like, smile. Remember that? Deep into the night. We're gonna have some art. We met FORS today as well, which was cool. Where do I look at? Mod chat? You make me a mod. We have too many mods on YouTube. Maybe not right now. We have too many mods on YouTube. Where do I go? Stream chat? I do. After reading all the chapters, checked. Oh, after 108 or after now? That's Lucia. I'm so normal about FORS. Wait. What is this? This is not art? Oh, Roll the Mysterious? Okay. I see. This is FORS? Oh my. Hello? Wait! Brother! It was you all this time! It was Lucirem all this time. No, it didn't tell me. But she can make portals and stuff. What? It was her. Oh, the symbol is like a door. Maybe it is called door. They found FORS. Lucirem is FORS. Is this also FORS? So cute. Oh my god, she's beautiful. Lucirem, you're beautiful. Audrey. Audrey is also really beautiful. We saw this before. Yeah, Audrey. The spectator icon behind. I'm curious in this though. I'm so normal about FORS. Show me my queen FORS. Yes, thank you, FORS. It's good morning indeed. Even the mention of you makes it perfect morning. What? I think you're obsessed with FORS, Lucirem. Holy. FORS is the true way. What FORS? FORS appearance introduction. It's that's crazy. Oh my god. That's actually crazy, dude. Boyfriend bingo? That's cool. FORS is a so not FORS. Lucirem is a fan of FORS, I realized. It ran that deep. That's crazy. Thanks for sharing, by the way. I did not know your character was from Lord of Mysteries. Damn, that's cool. I'm normal? Sure, buddy. into the night. Thank you for sharing, by the way. FORS is here! Bok, 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 bok. One second, guys. My friend was supposed to type to me soon, but he's ignoring me. What do I do? Really, Lucy Ram? That's crazy. Hopefully, she will appear more. No, not yet. Deep in the night. Despite not being dawn yet, the well-ventilated but quiet and dark underground was illuminated by gas lamps. The dim yellow light emitted from the gas lamps were protected by glass, allowing them to steadily shine throughout the empty and quiet tunnel. Klein sat at duty room and casually flipped through newspapers, magazines, and books piled before him. I'm gonna sneeze. Oh god. Some of his attention outside the he directed some of his attention outside to prevent anyone from charging inside the Chinese gate. His trench coat was top hat were hung on a closed rack near the entrance well. His cane was leaning against the wall where it could easily be retrieved. XS fan, you're actually getting on my nerves. You were one of my favorite viewers of all time, by the way. But you are, with your rage baiting, you are making that go down. As a college, the rich aroma of coffee filled with air, the client couldn't help but take a whiff. He massaged his temples to fight against the heavy head feeling he was experiencing and the weariness on his body. Is it because of seeing the true creator? As a college student back on Earth, he often slept at 5 in the morning and woke up at noon. In the past, my schedule, by the way. In the past 2 or 3 years of his working life, he often stayed up all night to the point of being able to attend work energetically the next day. However, it was all thanks to the games that were too exhilarating, novels that were too interesting, television shows and movies that were too entertaining, and unused reactions that are the best thing in the world. This world obviously didn't possess any of the necessities needed to staying up all night. Seriously, Emperor Cell, if you want to posture, do it properly. Pour your limited life into an unlimited enterprise. Lead the people of this world to the information age. Klein muttered silently. He could only console himself that there were at least newspapers, magazines, and increasingly interesting novels. At first, he wanted to focus on his studies to restrain his sleepiness. However, practically speaking, it conflicted with his duty. Once he entered the state, he would easily overlook any movements outside and any changes to the situation at the Chinese gate. Phew, Klein picked up his coffee cup and carefully blew it away. Hopefully nothing bad happens to you, Don. Yeah. Don't worry, nothing bad will happen to Don Smith. I'm sure of it. I'm sorry. He took a sip of and let the fragrant taste swish around his mouth before letting the liquid slowly flow down his throat. Damn. Vermont coffee from the Bass Valley, very bitter but very refreshing. Klein gave a compliment and put down his coffee cup. The Bass Valley is located in the southern continent, a region that's produced high-quality coffee beans. Do they use slave labor? It was currently being fought over by the Indian Republic and the Lowen Kingdom. They were both built colony settlements on the left and right banks of the Bass Valley and that destroyed the original Bass Kingdom. Wow, typical colonist, fuck colonialism. In the eerie silence, Klein casually picked up a magazine and realized that it was Ladies' Aesthetic, which talked about fashion and dating. This must be from Roseanne, he murmured in amusement as he flipped through it with his interest piqued. Maybe it was due to the sudden advancement of camera technology in the past decade or so. Not only did the magazine use a lot of illustrations, it even used monochrome pictures as their content, just like the newspapers. They fashionably invited the famous play and musicals actors to model their charms and the magical pairing of the clothing. In a short span of 7 years, the new regional Background magazine became a mainstream magazine that spread across the nation. Rest looks nice. She's pretty too. Klein flipped through it casually and didn't hide his aesthetic incantations. He was a man, had matured normally both in body and mind. He'd always appreciated beautiful ladies. I think Klein is popping a boner, by the way. But he had long set his goal to find a way home. Hence, he tried his best to keep his distance from opposite sex, so that he didn't waste the other person's time or leave behind any emotional baggage. Aww. Klein is so... Aww. Never mind. Klein is such a sweetheart, man. Klein is such a sweetie, man. Spooky. Cutie Patootie, sorry. As for streetwalkers, he was quite germaphobe in that aspect. Benson and streetwalkers, as in prostitutes. Benson and Melissa were already shackles. They couldn't be removed. He could only find any means to make it up to them in the future. Clark suddenly felt his heart heavy, and he couldn't help but let out a sigh. Damn. The further he strayed away from home, the more he felt melancholic during quiet late nights. Suddenly lost his interest in looking at beautiful women and put down the magazine in his hands. He picked up a novel instead. Come on, man, jerk off or something. Stormwind Mountain Villa Author Fall. Oh, FORS Fall! I read the content on the cover. FORS mentioned again. The tranquil night, dim yellow lit, and the leather-bound book reminded him of his younger days when he rented books. Hence, the continued to read simply because of nostalgia. Stormwind Mountain Villa was a novel about Lady Sissy, who was 165 meters tall and weighed 19.8 pounds. You have a story of her embarking as a home tutor at the FORS Mountain Villa. Did FORS make this character the same height as she was? Unbound is half a kilogram. Not really. 1 pound is 0.44 kilograms. Is this chain eerie of alternative world? Klein pressed his fingers against the smooth paper as he began making guesses of the subsequent content. Wow, it's just like me, he's guessing. However, just as he thought it was a romance novel, an evil spirit emerged in the story. When he believed it was a ghost story, Lady Sissy revealed herself as a detective and made a marvelous deduction. Just as Klein felt that it was definitely a detective novel, the main male character took a heavy blow to the head, lost his memory, then it became a heart-rending drama. In the end, it's still a romance book. Klein closed the book and drank a mouthful of coffee. Thump, 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 thump. FORS Wall's names references a fourth wall. Really? Sequence 9, Streetwalker. Sequence 8, Nightwalker. That's funny. That's really funny. Furious knocking was suddenly heard as it reverberated in the dim and quiet, empty corridor. Oh, it's the thing behind this Chinese gate. Klein jumped in shock as he immediately returned tense. He instinctively drew his revolver from his underarm holster, adjusted the cylinder and hammer. Then he slowly walked to the door and looked for the source of the sound. Thump, 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 bang, bang, bang. Thumping became more and more intense. Klein looked in the direction of the sound and saw the black outward swinging gates that were engraved with 7 sacred emblems. Sounds from beyond the Chinese gate. He squinted his eyes and his heart was beating like a drum. Bang, bang, bang. Klein saw Chinese gate shake gently. As he sensed the massive impact it was withstanding. It's that like creepy, smiling like tall thing. It can't be right. I'm encountering something on my first day on duty. Did I get an unlocking constitution? After I transmigrated, Klein's right hand broke into cold sweat as it held the revolver. Very soon he recalled the captain's instructions to not open Chinese gate no matter what you hear unless it's open from the inside. Could this be a normal phenomenon? Klein suddenly calmed down. Bang, 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 thump, 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 thump. The commotion beyond the Chinese gate grew intensely, but the heavy black metal gates only shook, otherwise it didn't show any unusual signs. This is normal. I nearly died from the shock, and muttered before I prepared to return the room. Bazinga! It's not normal, Klein. He's gonna find out very soon. Just as he heard a sharp grinding noise, he looked at the heavy Chinese gate, bulging outward as crack appeared on its surface. Zing! In the jarring noise, Klein almost fixed eyes. Saw a figure. Its height was about the length of a man's arm, wearing a classic black miniaturized regal gown. There was an obvious stain on the gown. Ew, it had not so exquisite face, black eyes, and tightly sealed lips. It was a cloth puppet, a toy cloth puppet. Antigonus. A lot of puppets in the Antigonus creations. At the moment when Klein was about to subsequently raise his gun to take aim, are Antigonus the puppet masters? Are they controlling everything? The cloth puppet leaned heavily into the crack in Chinese gate and unfurled the paper it was holding. There are many symbols that represented concealment on the paper, some that Klein knew and some that he had yet to learn. Together they formed a vertical eye. Klein had yet to understand the situation when the regal gowned puppet was suddenly dragged back by a shapeless force to the back of Chinese gate. Creak. Chinese gate closed once again with no more knocking or pounding sounds. We saw it in the donghua. It was really creepy, but here we didn't explain the smile, right? Chinese gate closed once again with no more knocking or pounding sounds. The basement regained its tranquility and silence as though nothing had happened. Asked to inform Captain that Chinese gate was open on the inside, but it closed itself. At that moment, Klein's mental facilities returned to him as he felt alarm, fear, and doubt. A few seconds later, he recalled what the cloth puppet was. Since he was an official member of Nighthawks, he was given the clearance to know about the Grade 3 sealed artifacts sealed behind Chinese gate. Numbers 0625. Name Misfortune Cloth Puppet. Ooh, 0625. I'm guessing it's 30625. Danger Grade 3, considerably dangerous, has to be used carefully, can only be requested for operations that require 3 or more people. Security classification, official Nighthawk member or above. Sealing method, only needs to be separate from humans. Description, the cloth puppet is wearing a regal crown which is popular in around the year 1300. The crown has a stain that is almost impossible to remove. It is uncertain if the stain was present from the very beginning. I'm guessing so, right? Impossible to remove. In a few tragic cases of individual family financial crisis in Tingen, the police noticed the existence of a puppet. It was always placed in children's bedrooms on the side table next to the bed. Ew, really? Ugh. A few Nighthawks accepted the request and started the investigation of the puppet. Initial revelation, maybe it's not Antigonus then. The initial revelation determined that it brought misfortune, causing people around it to be unlucky and find themselves in danger. Finally, they will die one after another. It only took 2 weeks for the tester to reach the brink of bankruptcy. The puppet doesn't have any living trait, doesn't have any inclination of escaping the seal. Through extended periods of experimentation, it discovered that as long as one does not come within 10 meters of it for more than half an hour a day, one wouldn't be tainted with misfortune. If misfortune was befallen someone, the person will immediately have his situation turn for the better, as long as the misfortune is transferred to another person. Appendix: the puppet appeared in the house of an old lady, Tess, who lived in the lower street of Iron Cross Street. She was toy maker. Also, in the slums, basically, right? To the old age, her husband's severe illness with both her children passing on early, she had no choice but to move to the Iron Cross lower street. This was the last toy she sold. She exchanged the puppet for some Poisian hemlock and ended her husband's lives, having starved for more than 3 days. Oh my god, that's so fucking sad, dude. As Klein recalled the formation of seal artifact 30625, he felt even more doubtful and horrified. They didn't say puppet doesn't have any living traits, and they say it doesn't have any inclinations of escape seal. So I'm guessing that Klein being there triggered the puppet's living inclinations. What did you see right now? What dragged it back in the end? The symbol that was drawn on the paper that is unfurled, what does it mean? That scene earlier was like how a psychotic murderer deals with his victim as the victim slams on the kids heavily, as cries help desperately, only to be dragged back. While these thoughts followed him, Klein decided not to make any decision on his own. He returned to the duty room and pulled a rope. Rope tightened, the gear spun, and there was suddenly a hurried ringtone that rang on the second floor of Blackthorn Security Company. Leonard Mitchell and other sleepers who were playing cards in the recreation room immediately put down their poker cards and ran to the basement. Oh wow. Deduction. So Chinese Gate has a puppet, auto puppets, a lot of sealed artifacts. I'm guessing one of them is 30625, which was made by one of those old ladies, but I feel like there's more to that story than we see right now. First of all, it shouldn't have any life inclinations. I'm guessing because of Klein. It did, right? He triggered it somehow, and we're gonna find out soon. Also, FORS mentioned again, so really happy for Lucy Rem. Yay, FORS mentioned. I'm also really happy. I like FORS so far. She does have some kind of teleportation sequence. I think FORS is not sequence 9. I feel like FORS is like sequence 8 or 7, but she is 23 years old. That means that maybe she knows about the acting method as well, and maybe has to do something with writing books or something. We're gonna learn soon. Maybe it is actually consigned writer or something like that. Sequence 9 author. Interesting. Anyway, sequence name is always like hard to guess. I'm certainly sure that sequence 7 of Seer East like something to do with magic, magician maybe, so close to that. Anyway, yeah, I like to guess 100 things, and 2 of them are gonna be right. Anyway, thank you for going to the stream. I will see you Monday or Tuesday. Maybe tomorrow we're gonna do another stream. But look out on Discord. If you haven't joined my Discord, join it, please. I will always let you guys know when I stream. And I'll see you in a few days with more chapters. Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.